trade. Hey,
Oh,
everybody. Well, we live now, baby. Welcome to the TD Report.
mm-hmm.
I'm your host, David Combs. I'm here with Tony Kennedy. This is our show. We keep you connected to all things sports. I want you to go out, hit your like button, hit your subscribe button, add us on Spotify, help us out a little bit. We're just a couple of brothers talking sports. We give away free game on this show. But Tony, today, January the 11th, has been one of the most interesting days in covering sports that we will ever have. The three coaches that we're going to talk about on the show tonight, and we're talking about Nick Saban, we're talking about Pete Carroll, and we're talking about Bill Belichick. We are talking about three of the greatest coaches, college and pro, that you will ever see. And I've got the numbers here that prove it. Let's start out first with Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Nick Saban is a defensive guy by trade. He is a defensive back specialist. Okay. He is coached as an assistant in the pros, in college, and then been a head coach in college. And he was a pro coach for a short time. I think it was with the Miami Dolphins. 2 seasons, nothing big. But the thing about Nick Saban as a college coach, he has literally won everywhere he has coached. Mm-hmm. He had a winning record at Michigan State, 10 games over 500. He was a winning coach at LSU, where he was 32 games over 500 and won a national title at LSU. He went to the pros, coached at Miami for a couple of seasons, mediocre results. Comes back to Alabama. And then this is where he becomes a legend as a coach, Tony. Incredible. 200 wins and only 29 losses at Alabama. 6 national titles. Okay. Here's what's crazy about Nick Saban to me. It isn't that he recruited so well. It isn't that he was in the Southeast Conference, which at the time, and arguably still is, the best conference for football in the country, sitting on top of the nation's most lucrative, most rich region for recruits. Okay. He went 117 and 18 in the SEC against that conference.
That's
I got to ask
games
you
over 500.
Huh?
That's 100 games over 500.
Yeah, by a game. Yeah, 100 games over 500. In the SEC, this is against the best coaches. This is against the best recruits in the country. I'm talking about the ones he doesn't get, because them kids got to go somewhere. They're going to go to Georgia. They're going to go to LSU. 100 games over 500 in the SEC. Hey, Tony, how much money could we make being able to do that?
About as much as he made. Yeah, brother. Wow.
We'll talk about Nick Saban and talk about also, Tony, his coaching tree. And I'm only going to give you 4 names. Kirby Smart, who's won multiple national championships at Georgia. Dan Lanning, who's out at Oregon, who should be able to win a national championship from there. He's got the recruits. He's got Nike money behind him. Dan Quinn, who's turned into a pretty damn good defensive coordinator in NFL and is looking at possibly getting a job again as a head coach. And Lane Kiffin, who's over at
what about Mike Locksley?
Mike Locksley, that's right. Who's at Maryland? Shout out to Coach Locks. Got another bowl win. What's that? 3 bowl wins in a row for Maryland now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I think 2 out of 3. I think
it's 2 out of 3, but they've been to bowls 3 straight years. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, Maryland, you got to look at it like this, and I'll say this before I let you get your thing in. I'm sorry for talking so much, folks, because I'm excited about this.
It's good, Dave.
Maryland, just keep doing what you're doing. You can't run before you walk. Right now, Maryland is walking, Tony. That's what they're supposed to be doing. You can't run until you're able to walk. Okay. So when you look at Michigan State, they had Nick Saban as their coach. 34 wins and 24 losses. Were they excited about Nick Saban when he was there? They were, He was okay, coach. But I tell you what, I bet you they miss him now. What's that Bobby Womack song? If you think you're lonely now, that's where Michigan State is right now. Because Nick Saban is the goose that lays the golden eggs. Come on, Tony, talk to me, babe.
So
This is the TD report. Let Tony get in.
Put it to you. I give Nick Saban all his flowers. Okay. I said 3 years ago when NIL was legal, I said, watch who complains the most, see if it levels the playing field and why they complaining, and see if they all of a sudden they get tired of doing it and they quit. Well, folks, college basketball, let me go down the list. Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski.
Yep.
Is Boeheim gone?
Boeheim's gone.
Boeheim, that's 4. Let's go college football.
Bill Self won't, and it won't be long before Bill Self is gone too. He ain't gonna be around forever.
College football. You hear all the people that's crying and complaining. Those coaches aren't the ones winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, who won it the first year? Kirby Smart, right? In
yes.
21-20. So 21-22 was Kirby Smart. 22-23 was Kirby Smart. So he was a first-year coach who happened to win back-to-back. And those were the first years that won. Now, Harbaugh won it his first year. Without
that's his first time.
First time, these dudes probably wouldn't win. What I am telling you is that, in my humble opinion, is that the NIL and the transfer portal, the way they're doing it now, was a game changer. It's a game changer because, like I've been telling guys, it's been making everything even. When I say even, I mean it's just been making everything just easier for the people. You know, it's easier for a Virginia Tech or a UVA or whomever to get and have a team now. I mean, it's easier to catch up.
Well, even Nick said it. Even Nick said it, Tony. He said, if you're a high school recruit, if you're a 5-star recruit, 4-star recruit, but I have a chance to get a guy that's actually played a year or 2 in college that wants to come to my school, I'm going to give the guy that I can get more production from, who I don't have to coach as much or train or to get his body in shape to play at this level. When you're talking about high school guys, most of those guys come in, they're not the finished product, Tony.
No.
When you went to college, when you went to Virginia Tech, when Billy Height brought you there, were you the dude that you were when you were a junior?
No, not even close.
You see what I'm getting at, right?
Yep.
But I agree with you. It has changed. NIL and the transfer portal have changed how the landscape of college football. Now, on the surface, the Michigans, the Georgias, the Alabamas still going to win the national championship. Okay. But what it has done for the teams that win 8, 9, 10 games or 7, 8, 9, it's changed to where you can go from, hey, we were winning 4 games a year down here. We brought in a transfer portal quarterback, a couple of defensive guys, and now we're winning 7 games. So instead of us going to no bowl, we're going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. We're going to the Pop-Tart Bowl. But it ain't no different than it was the Gator Bowl or the Florida Citrus Bowl or whatever. You have to walk before you can run. Yep. And these transfers help you get a little further ahead. If I bring in a bunch of first years, a bunch of freshmen, I've got to wait for their redshirt year, their redshirt freshman year, before they get their bodies to where they can even compete on the field, Tony.
Yep.
Nick Saban mastered the ability in the old regime of how you recruit, and he's doing just fine in the new way. He's okay. He's the one coach where if he loses a 5-star, there's another one coming.
No,
it's Nick Saban.
Listen, I'm just going to go off of numbers. At Alabama,
the numbers don't lie.
The longest stretch he's had where he didn't win the championship, and he hasn't won the championship since NIL became a part.
Correct. And let's think of another thing, another factor. It's going to go from a 14 playoff to a 12-team playoff next year. So that's a big difference. Okay. That's going to change everything.
He didn't like that either.
Nobody likes that.
That's a little
you have to win more.
You
have to win more. You have to win more games to win that national championship. That gives another coach another shot at you. Okay. And Nick's not stupid.
And did you look at their schedule for next year?
What's that? Oh, it's insane. It's insane. I wouldn't want. Listen, even with the roster that he has, I don't want to see that schedule. That's
here's why I'm always going to respect these people, because we built it right. We did it. We went in and did it our way. We weren't cheating. We didn't do all that stuff, and built it right and played everyone at their place, their neutral spot, whatever. That's why it's hard. You didn't talk till you blew in the face with me. Saban said it. The only difference between him and Michigan State versus him at Alabama was recruits. That's the only difference. He said he was the same coach.
You can't bake without that dough. You can't bake without dough. I agree with you there. Let's talk about another guy that recruited his ass off as a college coach. He's known just as much as a pro coach as he is as a college coach. Pete Carroll, he stepped down, which is he's a little bit up in years, but let's look at his numbers. His numbers at USC, he was 97-19 at USC, Tony. It won 2 national championships. I think he won it in 03 and 04. Should have won it in 05. 3 Heisman Trophy winning players. Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush. I mean, the list goes on and on of great players. But as a pro coach, where he also won a Super Bowl and should have won 2. I don't even want to talk about the second one. He should have won a second one. He went 170 and 120 as a pro coach. That's nothing to sneeze at. 170 wins as a pro coach against 120 losses is a more than respectable career. But at Seattle, he was 137 and 89. Very good career as a pro coach. And also, you have to think about this. Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick are both Bill Parcells' assistants, former assistants of Bill Parcells. Pete Carroll was the former coach at New England. In fact, that's who Bill Belichick succeeded as head coach at New England. So let's give Pete Carroll his flowers before we move on to Bill. What Pete is known as in college is this great recruiter. But you want to know what else is funny? Because I know you're going to love this. Pete Carroll was the first college coach with a Facebook account. He used it for the team. He went and got a Facebook account for USC for football. He was the first coach to do that. You say it all the time, Tony. You say it all the time. You say it all the time. Do what the kids want you. Look at what the kids are looking at.
Yep.
You know, when me and you were kids, Tony, my mom, my dad were always like, man, I don't know if I like this Public Enemy. You know what my mom and dad did? They went and bought the records and listened to it. The only way you're going to know what your kid is up to is if you're listening to what he's listening to or watching MTV, if that's what he's watching. What Pete Carroll saw was Facebook. Okay, I'll get on there. And he recruited his ass off at USC. Tony, it was 4 and 5 stars rolling up through there.
Yeah,
on some level, Nick Saban had to have seen that himself and said, I can do that too. I mean, he had to.
His third Heisman was Carson Palmer.
I think that was his first Heisman.
No,
Carson
but his third,
but that's the third one
from the list was Carson Palmer. It was his first
Carson
one.
Palmer said, and let's talk about something else regarding Nick Saban as well. Nick Saban is his defensive coach, but his Heisman Trophy winners obviously are offensive players, where he started developing quarterbacks so that he could support that defense. He realized I can't always win a national championship with an offense that can't score. Now his offenses score. He throws the football. He does what the kids want to do. This is what Pete Carroll did when he was at USC. The style of offense that he ran, the defenses that he ran, that's what the kids wanted to do. And the kids just kept coming. Pete Carroll was an excellent college coach. I know a lot of his wins have been vacated, but if Pete Carroll coached in college now, none of that stuff that he did that got him nailed by the NCAA would even be considered an infraction.
So they need to give it back, and they need to give the Heisman back.
They need to give the Heisman back to Reggie Bush.
They need to stop all this. Stop
this. It's crazy, Tony. Listen, hypocrisy is what college sports is all about. That's what the NCAA does. Is they lord over football, they lord over basketball, and they can't seem to get it right. Tony, I've been talking about let's give us a college football czar. Why can't Pete Carroll do that? Why can't Nick Saban do that? Why not? They'd be excellent at it. They've done it at the highest level. They understand the needs of the athlete, what athletes want or what they really want out of a school, out of an educational experience. I don't see why college football, the NCAA, doesn't leverage the smart people in the room that they have. They're sitting right there, Tony.
Yeah, they just because they don't want to lose their control. That's just me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking is they don't want to lose their control, and I think that's the reason why they don't put a czar, because if they did, then they would lose all their control, and then you won't need them.
How about Bill Belichick as the czar? One of the greatest football minds that ever lived, period. There's no other way around it. Former Bill Parcells assistants. He's won 8 Super Bowls, 2 as an assistant coach, 6 as a head coach. 31 playoff wins, won the division title 17 times. His head coaching record, 302 and 165. And that includes a bad stint with the Browns. And he still won 300 games as a head coach. 31 wins.
Go ahead.
31 wins and 13 losses as a playoff coach. He's virtually unbeatable in the playoffs. His career, 333 wins and 178 losses. That's 139 games over 500 if you're counting them.
Probably the greatest coach of our lifetime. When you talk
between Bill Belichick as a pro coach and Nick Saban as a college coach.
Yeah, those are
the goats.
Those are the two greatest
Go ahead,
of our lifetime.
How about putting those guys together in a room and just letting them talk defense, football, offensive schemes, how to stop this? Oh, this is what we did here. When Bill Belichick talked about how he stopped Sean McVay and the Rams in the Super Bowl, what he set up his defense, you know what I saw when I saw that? It looked like the doomsday defense with the flex. That's what it looked like, just the X's and O's. It looked like the flex defense, the doomsday. And Bill Belichick has been around long enough to have seen some of that stuff. He knows what schemes to run. He knows that guys are supposed to be in their gaps. He knows which gaps these guys are supposed to attack, where the offense is trying to go with the football. Just a general understanding of football. You take a Bill Belichick, if you had let him coach in college, Bill Belichick would have probably coached somewhere like a Virginia, maybe a Maryland, somewhere like that. And he would have won 10 games a year virtually every year. And you would still want, what you would wonder? He would remind you of George Welsh. How the hell is he winning with this?
Just because
you played against those Welsh teams, Tony. They weren't going to kill you with athleticism. They weren't the greatest athletes in the world. They had some guys like Kirby and Slade who were just ridiculous. Sean Moore, my boy Herman Moore, those dudes. But every guy was not a 5-star at Virginia.
But here's what Bill Belichick, here's what they don't get credit. Yeah, his record without Brady, he was 9 games under 500, or whatever it was. Okay? But what y'all don't fail to realize is you're throwing him under the bus without Brady. But all you guys had 6 rounds to get Tom Brady, and you didn't. He is the one who got Tom Brady. He's the one who moved him up to number 2, and he put him in position. People are like, well, because if dude don't get hurt, but it's the NFL. Quarterbacks get hurt. He was smart enough to move him to the number 2, and then when he got to number 1, it was him who put that work in. So now all of a sudden Brady does all this stuff. Now y'all want to change narrative. Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. He didn't come to the team and they drafted Tom Brady without him. He came and drafted Tom Brady after you fools missed him 6 times. So don't come with that crap about what Bill Belichick is without Tom Brady. You ain't say what was Chuck Noll without Terry Bradshaw. You ain't say what was Jimmy Johnson without Troy Aikman, or what was so-and-so without Joe Montana.
Well, wait a minute. Terry Bradshaw was the number 1 pick in the draft. That's a far cry from what Tom Brady was.
Yes.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
So he basically developed this dude, knowing the talent, knowing what he can do, put that together, and made it work because he was a defensive guy. Knowing what to look for on the defense, let's go against what I know. He put that together. So for you guys to sit here and say, oh, well, Bill Belichick was blah, blah, blah. You had 6 chances to get Tom Brady. And
everybody had 6 chances.
Everybody had 6 chances.
Everybody had 6 chances. Yeah.
Some of you had 7 and 8.
Well, you also have to remember this and think about this, everyone, as we talk about this on the TD Report. When you look at the teams that we're talking about the University of Alabama, Nick Saban has stepped down. Patriots and Bill Belichick decide to part ways. You can call it a firing. You can say he quit. What it likely was with Kraft was Kraft wanted some control back from Bill in terms of running the team and a succession plan as to who was going to be the coach if or when Bill decided to step down. And the 2 men just couldn't come to an agreement on how that's going to go. So now the Patriots go into the draft. Where do we go from here? Where does Alabama go from here? And listen, where does Seattle go from here now in terms of going on without Pete Carroll? It's as a GM, as a general manager, as a team owner, an ownership group, you're right before the draft with Alabama. All the guys that transferred in and all the guys that came in as January recruits, gray shirts, you have to buy your books. You have to have been enrolled by now. And those guys come in and the coach is gone. Nick Saban will not be there at spring practice.
Well, let me.
It's amazing, Tony. This is unfathomable.
So all the people who hate Deion Sanders, get ready, because you about to have a crazy ride. Because Deion celebrated today. Because now that's one less team. And if I'm getting my thing right, they said Kirby Smart is talking to the Falcons. So if Kirby Smart leaves college football and y'all leave Deion Sanders with the Georgia and the Alabama players to fill the holes, and he's going to have to play that tough schedule here in the Big 12, you guys are going to be your haters. All those haters, Levon and all you guys that was all talking that smack about Deion, you guys are about to be frustrated because Deion is going to take every last one of those to fill his holes. And he doesn't play that schedule, and they got a 12-team playoff. It's over, man.
Brian Ferranti has a question, Tony. Brian Ferranti, one of our texters. Brian Ferranti wants to know, do you really think that Pete Carroll is going to go into the front office, and just not coach anymore? What do you think about that?
I think
Is he able to do it? Because Pete Carroll is a maniac.
Yeah, but I think he knows his role, and I think he doesn't want to be out there on that sideline anymore. I think the best coach that they can put in, unfortunately, I hate to say this, is Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. Got to
Dan
do
Quinn
it.
from Dallas.
Got to do
Dan
it.
Quinn was there when Legion of Boom and all that. I think it's time for Dan Quinn to go home. Dallas knows that. This may have been a desperation move to put it to Dallas's players. This is it. You won't have Dan Quinn no more. Y'all got one more opportunity to try to get there. And if you can't get there this year with Dan Quinn, I'm afraid this is it for Dallas. It's all or nothing because this is your guy.
I mean, Dan Quinn's done a great job and by the way, thanks for the text there, Brian. Appreciate you watching the show. Dan Quinn potentially moving on, but think about this, just in the division. Wink Martindale stepped down as D coordinator in New York. Okay. Yeah. Excellent defensive coordinator, well thought of. A guy that people thought could become a head coach or could get a head coaching job. He's available. This is the circle of life in the NFL. This is the circle of life. You've got 8 jobs out that are open right now in the NFL. 8. That's a fourth of the league. 1 out of every 4 teams has fired their coach or their coach has stepped down. This is the opportunity for a young guy to come in and get a job. This is a chance for a guy that's been a head coach maybe before a couple of times to get another shot, a retread. This could change the face of the NFL. Just this one coaching cycle, because 2 Hall of Fame coaches have stepped down. Bill Belichick is gone, and Pete Carroll. They're both Hall of Fame coaches. They're both going to the Hall of Fame.
And they played one of the most classic Super Bowls against each other. Everybody forget that Super Bowl was against each other.
That was a great game. That was a great game.
And folks, so that you know, when you make moves in one place, sometimes it affects decisions in another place. Pete Carroll in 2005 had a 4th and 1, and he turned around and handed that ball off to his beast mode at the time, Lindell White.
Marshawn Lynch.
His beast mode was Lindell White.
Oh, in college. Oh, you're talking about Lindell White. Oh, you're talking about college.
In college. And when they didn't get the 4th down, Texas got the ball and came right down the field. That one call probably played in his decision when he came down the goal line in the Super Bowl. Nobody ever talks about that because everybody knew in the place that Marshawn Lynch was getting the ball, even though Bill Belichick sent in his goal line defense. So it wasn't going to be no read like they normally do because it's nothing to read. It was straight goal line. So he said, we got man-to-man outside. Let's see if it can work. But let's back it up. Y'all don't remember in the first quarter, they scored. That guy came in and went out, scored a touchdown. Nobody talks about that because it worked then. But Bill Belichick knew. See, that's the chess match that they played. And Bill Belichick probably thought about it and said, you know what? It didn't work for him in college. And I'm not going to think that he is going to just go and do something, knowing I know that it didn't work, that he might try it again. Just let me practice on this play.
I think Pete Carroll might have outsmarted himself, Tony. I think he outsmarted himself.
Might have, but we will never know. But think about it, Dave. When you get burnt one time, that makes you think about it, dude. Nothing was automatic in that game anyway. Nobody talks about that they had a 10-point lead with 4.5 minutes to go in the game. They don't talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, think about this, Tony. We've talked about Pete Carroll here on the TD Report. Pete Carroll steps down as Seattle coach. We're talking about some of his former games as a pro coach and a college coach where he could have just taken a 1-yard gain and won a game both times, right? And didn't do it. Didn't hand it off to his bell cow, his big running back. So let's flip the script. Put Bill Belichick in that situation. Does he run the football down at the goal line? I think he does. I think he sneaks it in. I don't think he gets too cute. He doesn't put I will say this, he don't put the football in the air. I know that. Not that close.
Belichick was funny. Remember, Bill Belichick is the one who took Troy Brown, his starting receiver, and put him over as his starting corner. So he thinks out of the box all the time.
Hey, we have another question from Brian Ferranti here on the TD Report. Thanks for dialing in for us, Brian. He wants to know from you, Tony, how does NIL affect college coaches? That's a loaded question, but you're the best guy to answer it. How does it affect the college coach? How he recruits, how he retains talent? How does that impact him?
Well, first of all, you have to have an evaluation on each player. So in positions and players and who you recruiting to your system. Who are your guys? And once you know who are your guys, then you got to know who you're going against. So how much is your collective raising? How much are we going to allot towards this position, that person, that person, that person? Almost like the NFL with a capologist, because you have to have some kind of cap. You have to know what you're doing. As far as like, how much are you going to spend? The bigger question is, now that these guys are getting paid, where is the financial literacy for these players to have for these players so that when they come out of college, because 99% of them ain't making it. So when they come out, where's the financial literacy piece being taught so that they can now set themselves up to get in the real world and be like us?
Hey, Tony, explain to Brian what a collective is, because he might not know what an NIL collective is. Hold on. Listen up, everybody. Tony's going to explain to you how NIL works. Go ahead, TK.
A collective is a group of alumni separate from the school, get together. It's, and oddly enough, it's a nonprofit. They set it up. It's a foundation. They set it up, and they can donate. All the alumni can donate money to the group that they call. So let's say it's called the Hokie Collective. I'm just using that as an example. And they put all the money into, Exxon, boom, or whatever, cutting 500,000, 30,000, cut it all to that thing. So now they need to look over as their collective, separate from the school, can now look over and say, okay, we have this much NIL money for A, B, C, D, whatever programs that need. Now, football is going to be at the top of the list. Then you're going to work your way down to basketball, baseball, whatever. That's how collectives work. So now, basically, they doing it out in public, almost like marijuana. Now you smoking out in public. What you were doing in your house now is out in public. Same thing. It's just now you ain't got to hide. You ain't got to go in the boardroom and see who's looking, and you're cutting the check and calling the parents. Oh, does he need a car? Does he need this? That is what it is.
Okay. So as NIL begins to start to shape or take shape, whenever the NCAA decides to step in and regulate it, because I think that's kind of what smart people like a Nick Saban or coaches that have been around the business a long time, they understand that something has to be codified. There have to be some kind of order, because it's just too much going on right now. It's just too much bombarding. And Nick Saban talked about it, where kids are basically holding the schools hostage, right? And listen, to get that one recruit, if you're looking at your war room and you're talking about, hey, I got to get this kid here at the top of this list. How do I get him in here? If it comes down to NIL money, Tony, you're just buying players. But Tony, like you said, this is what the SEC been doing for 70 years.
They've been doing it for 70
that ain't cheating.
years.
That ain't cheating. That's helping some kid and his mama out, man.
Hey, what's the saying? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
NASCAR and the SEC in football. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You ain't trying. Man, and they mean
son, you want to win or not? You want to win or not?
It, dude. They mean that and that's in their DNA. They mean
Yeah.
it. So
And this is the whole point about college football and to a degree college basketball. You're always trying to get the edge on the other guy. Yes, you have X's and O's, but you want to have better Jimmys and Joes than the other guy.
You better have better Jimmys and Joes, because them X's and O's going to carry you so far. The Jimmys and Joes can't do anything. So,
and listen, we haven't said it yet on the show. I don't want any Michigan fans to get on my Twitter or on my Facebook. Congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines, national champions. They win the college football playoff. They beat up the Huskies. That ain't right. They beat them Huskies up. But I will say this: they had some Jimmys and Joes at Michigan. They got good football players at Michigan. You might not like Jim Harbaugh. A lot of people don't like him. Okay, you might not like him. But I'll tell you what, he can coach him some football. And by the way, bottom line, that whole family can coach.
They are. Hey,
his brother's the Ravens coach. His other brother just won the championship in FCS, Western Kentucky. That's his brother. So his brother has. Yeah, he's won it before. That's a national champion.
Yeah,
he has a national.
Because the Western Kentucky won it years ago, because the FCS championship this year was the Jackrabbits.
It was yeah. But so the Harbaugh family has a Super Bowl ring, college football playoff championship, and an FCS. And potentially, they're probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, they are the favorite.
They're one of the favorites.
It's
shout out to Bill West. Shout out to Bill West and Ravens.
Yeah, because Bill West keep hitting us about Flacco.
He says there's only one Joe Flacco. That's right, but he ain't your quarterback this year, baby. It's Lamar Jackson. You better get in line. You better get behind your boy. Get behind Lamar Jackson, Baltimore.
Shout out to Joe Flacco for coming in off the couch and doing what he's doing, but he better stop turning the ball over. He better stop turning. He got to stop turning that ball over.
He still throws a gorgeous deep ball.
Yes, he does.
Still throws a beautiful deep ball.
Yes, he does.
But Joe talked about this a lot, Tony. The difference between a guy like a Troy Aikman in the regular season, when he got to the postseason, he was an even better quarterback. You see what I'm saying? He was a money quarterback. Joe Flacco, similar type of situation. The bad news for a guy like a Dak Prescott is getting from the regular season, where he's been pretty damn good, very good, and getting into the playoffs, he hasn't quite had that signature performance or that signature playoff where he had great rounds every time. You see what I mean? Yep. Is this the year for Dak Prescott to break out of that and have a great playoff for the Dallas Cowboys?
I think what they've done with Dak Prescott being with Mike McCarthy and them letting them recognize and call the plays and understanding, Dak Prescott is about as good as you can get out there on that field, getting that ball down the field. I mean, he's making those guys, Ferguson, the tight end, Cooks, hell, they're doing it with, just CD killing. If they get Gallup involved, they'll probably be unbeatable, as far as offensively. But y'all got to remember this. Last 10 games against Green Bay, Dallas has lost 9 of them. Dallas is 1-9 versus Green Bay the last 10 games. But that was all Aaron Rodgers. This is Jordan Love. This is Jordan Love. It's his first, his fourth year in the league, but it's his first real year starting. Mm-hmm. So, just remember that, Dallas fans.
This is going to be interesting, Tony. That rivalry, that's been an interesting NFL rivalry and some great playoff games. Obviously, the Ice Bowl and all of that stuff. Some great games historically for Dallas and Green Bay. And by the way, 2 of the league's premier franchises and premier fan bases in the league as far as travel. If you play Green Bay and they come into your town, you're going to see a whole lot of cheeseheads coming there. they get that, they don't get as much credit as the Pittsburgh fans do, but nobody travels quite like Pittsburgh, Dallas, Green Bay, Buffalo.
And Pittsburgh, Dallas, Buffalo, and Green Bay. And they also happen to be playing each other.
And shout out to my Washington Commanders fans. Washington fans will travel. They just need something to travel to go see.
Yeah,
if Washington starts winning again, they're going to become one of the more obnoxious fan bases traveling to your city. I guarantee you that.
But when they start winning again, it's going to be deserved. I mean, because it's, as a Cowboy fan living here, this isn't fun for them being terrible. This is not fun. It's not cool. We need them to be better. We need this area to be better. We need all this stuff. This area has too many people who just don't understand sports. They don't. You can't even get together to get a stadium. You can't even get together to get stuff right around here. This is one of the biggest. It's supposed to be the most powerful area in the world, but these people around here are clueless about sports. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and some of you guys aren't too damn bright. I mean, you're clueless. You got the best facilities and the best places to put stuff, and you sit, oh, well, we're not paying them. Most of y'all work for the government. What the hell are you caring about with taxes? Your ass ain't even earned that. You work for the government. What the hell are we talking about? You sitting stealing checks.
Tony, you are never good. I will say this, and this is sad for me to say as a native Washingtonian. You're a Washingtonian as well. The Washington Commanders will never be back in the district. It's never going to happen. They're always going to be in Virginia or Maryland. Well, they're in Maryland now. They're going to end up over in Oxon Hill, over there near the MGM. That's where they're going to go. Right near the casino. They're going to be right next to the casino.
Listen, Doc, y'all can argue with me all you want, but the new world, listen to your kids. Your kids do not go and get a big grill and take the grill to the stadium and wait and see, put the ribs on and the chicken and let it marinate and this and that. They don't care about tailgating like that. They want to go to a bar, get their food, Uber to the game. After the game, they want to Uber back, and they want to go look at their things to see if they hit all their bets.
Hey, Tony, I got to give a shout out. I got to give a shout out to my boy, Matt Ballou. I went to junior high school and high school with this guy. Always watches the show, never misses. Matt, thanks for watching. Matt says that they are going, he says that he's been, oh, by the way, Matt is the biggest Redskins fan I know, by the way. His father had tickets at Griffith Stadium, at Griffith. His dad had tickets at RFK before it was RFK. It was when it was DC Stadium. And he had season tickets at FedEx. His dad. So he is probably the biggest Redskins fan I know. He thinks they're going back to the RFK site.
The RFK, hey, folks, let me tell you, so you can understand this. You're still living in the 70s. RFK is like that chick in high school that you wanted, and she looked good back then, but now she got 4 baby daddies.
How the booty look? How the buns look?
Huh?
How the buns look?
The buns is terrible. Everything is terrible. She got the smoker's voice. She got teeth missing, and
oh, she missing them side teeth. She missing them side teeth.
She got everything is all messed up now, but you still living back like it's 1988 to 94. Dog, she's done. She's gone, and she ain't coming back. And y'all keep talking. Here's my thing. All y'all want them in DC, but they doing what y'all did. None of y'all live in DC. If you live in DC, raise your hand. No,
DC expensive.
Because none of y'all live there. All
DC
y'all
expensive.
It's not the dog. Being in DC doesn't make you still, oh, you got to keep the name Washington. That is why I keep telling you, this area is idiotic. They don't understand sports in the big picture. They just don't get it. They
So
don't
here's the
get
big
it.
picture, Tony. Here's the big picture. If the Wizards and Capitals leave the district, which is what they're proposing, if they leave, DC has to go all in to get the Commanders back
Where are they gonna put
in
them?
the city. You leave them out in Maryland until they move into the district, but in the meantime, you would have to tear down RFK and rebuild that and build a new stadium.
So you putting them in a neighborhood to where it was feasible when everybody lived in the city. So that's like Baltimore taking and rebuilding right near where the old Memorial Stadium was. Right, remember all the
in the neighborhood, down in the neighborhood.
All the stadiums were in the neighborhood because they wanted people to walk to the games. Now the stadiums are either in a tourist district or they on some water. Why? Because that's where all the entertainment is. That's where the potential cruise ships are. That's where the big restaurants is. That's where everything can be. You have to be in these areas to be attractive for the women's Final Four, the men's Final Four, and the Super Bowl. Those are the big picture. That's what one of those gets to pay for your stadium. Mm-hmm. That's what you're not getting. And these people here in DC they are so idiotic and they are so stupid because they don't understand big picture. DC is nothing. DC is done. All those people are being moved out of DC, even in their jobs. The government is not saying, oh, you don't even have to come back to work anymore. If you're not coming back to work, how are you going to support a team?
Yeah, well, you're going to have to change that anyway because DC government and the federal government now is only going to allow you to work from home 1 day a week. So those people are coming back to these offices. It's going to be back. So at some point, DC government, same thing. So you're going to fill up downtown again. That's great. I mean, that's good news, obviously for the Caps and the Wizards for the interim while they're still in town. But the fallout from the pandemic where everything changed and, downtown areas were basically ghost towns, maybe we'll start to get some sense of normalcy and you maybe start to see the people come back. Maybe the Caps and the Wizards decide they're going to stay in town. I don't know. But one thing I do know about is this, Tony. When owners decide that they want to move a team, they want to move a team to where the land is cheap. They want cheap land, or they want a sweetheart deal on the land. And then, like you said, they want to own that entertainment district. They want to be able to charge rent to the restaurants that are going to sit there. See, Ted Leonsis in DC, the square blocks that he owns where the Washington Wizards and the Caps play, he does not collect rent on the restaurants that are around where his stadium is. Okay?
Doesn't get nothing.
He wants to be able to charge the rent on each individual restaurant that goes around. I mean, this is basically monopoly, Tony. This is monopoly. That's all it is. He wants to have boardwalk with 4 hotels on it. So when you land on it, you got to fork over a roll like that. That's what this is about. This is always about money. And owners, pro sports owners, the cost of owning a team has gone up. The cost of attending games to see a team has gone up. And we've talked about it on this very show about how they're pricing out the regular family or the regular customer that made these teams great. Is it cheaper for me to sit home and watch a game on HD TV or sit out in the parking lot, sit up in a booth and call a game or do our show? You and I both know for the fan experience, they want to see us at the games. They want to see us near the diesel bus. Shout out to our boy DK. That's what people want to see. They want to be in the middle of it. So I see where the owners are coming from here. I get it. I get it. They want to make their money. The thing is that we want to see these teams. We want to see our teams play. I'm a DC native. You're a DC guy. I love the Caps. I love the Wizards, even though the Wizards are terrible. I'm not even a Washington Commanders fan, but I love NFL football, and that's the team that's here. But I've been fortunate enough that they were in the NFC East, the greatest conference in football history, period. They're the greatest conference. This division. We're the greatest.
So let me ask you something. In the NFC East, the division that Washington is in, there's only one team who plays in the area where they say they're from. Name the team.
Philly.
Why don't the Giants play in New York, in Manhattan?
Too expensive.
And there's no land. And they got a thing in Jersey. Okay, Dallas hasn't played during our lifetime. They haven't played a game in Dallas.
Now, no, they were in Irving. They were in Irving and now they're Arlington.
All the way to Arlington. Dog. And the Redskins have been out in Landover since '97. So most of the people's lifetime, over a quarter century. Dog, it's where you fit in. Most of you people who keep saying Washington, you're a Washingtonian. But none of you live in D.C. None of you. All you made a business decision for you and your family to move out. Now, the only people I want to hear from are the people who are from D.C. or who made a decision to stay in D.C. and they keeping their family in D.C., which aren't that many. Because if you look at D.C., D.C. done went from whatever it is to more than half aren't black anymore. So where did everybody move to? Upper Marlboro, Brandywine, Waldorf, La Plata.
Well, wait a minute, wait. We ain't moved to Waldorf. You need a daggone hovercraft to get out there. That's a flight. You got to fly out. I'm just
telling you where the population has moved. You fools are sitting here talking about put everything in DC. You forget 99% of the games on the weekend. So you're not going to be at work anyway for a Redskin game. You need it closer to where you're going to be living. I mean, do y'all think? Y'all don't think. Y'all don't think.
Well, these folks are talking about the subway to these games, Tony. So if they move the stadium, it's got to be near where the metro is, and you go through all of that as far as finding the land that's nearby.
Water taxi, Dave, Mount Vernon, National Harbor, Oxon Hill, Old Town, Caps,
Georgetown,
Caps and Bullets, come over Buzzards Point, the soccer and the baseball, Georgetown. You can hit all 6, 7 stops on water taxis. Everything is on the water. This new generation, they Uber, they Subway, and they water. They ain't worried about them driving themselves because they drinking too much. So if they drinking, they need all the other stuff that has become worth billions of dollars because these people want to drink and not be worried about their cars. That's our generation. We're the ones who are worried about that. These people that's 20 years younger than us, they're not worried about that. But some of y'all old heads don't listen. Y'all don't study nothing. You don't read anything, and you think it's still going to be the same way. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to give you some advice. Go out and buy that $70,000 gas car right now. And in 5 years, I bet you it won't be worth $10,000. I bet you that.
You think we're all going to be driving? No,
it ain't that you all going to be driving. It's simple math, Dave. Your car is only worth what the bank will allow you to loan for the money.
That's true.
And if you can't get $35,000 from a bank, who got $35,000 in their account to go buy a car? So now you had a market of this to buy the car to a market of this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You either adapt or you die. And if you not adapting, you will die. And guess what? There's a lot of people dying.
Hey, man, I got to jump off, Tony. We're going to end the show here. But we want to make sure we give our flowers to Nick Saban on a great career at Alabama, great career as a coach. Shout out to Bill Belichick. What you got there, Tony?
That RX Sports, baby. You hurting? Hit me up. Pain.
Yep.
RX Sports, baby.
Shout out to Pete Carroll. Excellent job as Seattle head coach. even better job at USC, putting USC back on the map. Because when he got there, USC wasn't what it was, and he restored. Yeah, he restored a lot of luster to that program, old school football program, and then of course, Bill Belichick, greatest coach in NFL history, 6 Super Bowls. He and the New England Patriots part ways. I mean, we never know. We might see Bill Belichick coach again. You might see Pete Carroll coach again. I don't know. Give those guys a couple of days to kind of figure out what they want. Hey, maybe you see him in DC as head coach.
You'll never see him to this level, though, Dave. To the level that we saw, that is gone.
That era might be over. That
era's gone, and that's fine. It's fine. You got to give them their flowers. Dave, we love it. Get ready for the games this weekend. We already gave you our picks. We'll
Super
be back
wild
Monday
card.
night before the Eagles game. Before the Eagles Tampa game, we'll be back.
Super wild card weekend, probably one of the best concepts the NFL's come up with. Enjoy the games, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks, TK. Appreciate it.
Monday night. Thank you, brother. See y'all Monday night. Come hit us up. All right, Cody. I'm done, baby. Them boys.